well, we have dealt with the EA of Japan. Now we're dealing with the EA of, well, EA.
I think
The
you mean the
company that
Konami
managed
of
to
America.
get voted 2 times in a row the worst company of America.
And oh boy, did they earn it.
This is the EA press conference from E3 2014. An E3 that was mostly regarded as any free event.
Okay. There's a bit of backstory about this one.
This one in particular managed to have quite a few, let's just say, not spectacular announcements, coupled with an ending that was quite bizarre, but not entirely unfitting of a company like EA.
Okay, bit of a fun fact about the year of this E3. Originally, 2014 was supposed to be the first ever year that we, SCWRM, would do our E3 commentaries. Mind you, this is before Dweebs, Shiroy, and Pedro had joined the team. Basically, between a few things, though, the recordings didn't take, and we kind of scrapped the idea.
This is also the point where Disney allowed EA to handle the licensing of video games based on Star Wars. And 6 years later, only now we're starting getting decent results after a lot of bad results and a lot of fan complaining.
And the results? People really hate these Battlefront games. Now, granted, Battlefront 2 has finally gotten better, but
in time things are improving. We got Jedi Fallen Order. Supposedly we're getting an airship, X-wing versus TIE fighter battle, simulator battle, Star Wars Squadron. And a couple of the original games are being re-released as we speak. So there is some positivity, but in order to get to that, we have to go through a lot of shit.
And let's talk about this first Battlefront game. Okay, so let's compare this new and improved Battlefront to Battlefront 2, which was made in the early 2000s. Battlefront 2 had space battles. This game did not have space battles. Battlefront 2 and mind you, I'm talking about the original Battlefront 2. I hate that I have... Not just that, but the original Battlefront 2.
Oh, sorry.
Now, as of the time of this recording, EA recently announced that they're making a first-person starfighter game.
Yeah, Star Wars Squadron.
I'll just say this. I'll wait to see how that turns out, because...
Oh, and there it is. At least at the time, CEO EA, Mr. Satan in a suit himself.
Andrew
Wilson. Seriously, look at this guy. This is the guy that shows up in your room out of nowhere and asks your soul in exchange of a favor.
Like I said before, part of his charm is that he comes off as so cartoonishly evil, yet so lavish in design.
Well, what if I told you, Joe, that the game's only $40?
That clap.
Oh, wait. What game are we talking about?
You want Squadron? It's only going to be $40.
Like I said, I'm just
a more budgeted game.
Like I said, I'm just waiting to see if EA screw it up or not, because, well, they kind of have a knack.
As much as I want to give the benefit of the doubt, I kind of have to agree with Jova. More cautiously optimistic, but the cautious part is, prevalent.
2 words: Amy Hennig.
No, I understand, don't we?
So, what is Mr. CEO talking about? What lies do you want to spread today?
Okay.
I care about you all.
Even the jacket screams villain.
I know, right?
The thing about EA is that part of the reason they won Worst Company in 2 years in a row is because they have worked their workers to the absolute bone, to the point where they've been sued for it multiple times, have lost those cases. Hell, I think there's one reported case where they actually did kill an employee with overwork. They are terrible.
Not just that, Jova. They've been consistently, and I do mean consistently, they actually are the publisher with the highest body count in terms of developer studio killed. It's almost sociopathic. A couple of internet reviews actually analyzed it almost it says it's almost sociopathic. They literally hostile take over a studio, work it to the bone, force it to release title after title, and the moment they start being less productive, they kill it.
And that's the problem. It's like, well,
this is fucked up.
Like, never do they consider, maybe it was our fault that we overworked this company to the point where they couldn't do no more. No, it's their fault. Kill them. Fire everyone.
It's funny. Not even Ubisoft and Activision managed to get to this level. Keep in mind, we're not Saints, but not to this level.
I think another thing...
Also, they create an environment where the employees think that anything that happens is their own fault.
Not only that,
Alright,
but there was...
so what are we gonna see now? I think it's Dragon Age Inquisition.
To cap things off, there was also them forcing everyone to use the Frostbite engine.
The basic gist of it here is that Andrew Wilson is pretty much like One-Eye Jake from Last Spectre. He's evil and he's not afraid to hide it, basically.
It's just less... it's basically One-Eye Jake in the body of Descole. When you get down to it.
Basically, that's the basic gist of it.
Yeah.
Right, as I think I mentioned in the past, but I actually am not too experienced with Dragon Age, so I don't know exactly what the scope. I know from fan reaction that Dragon Age 2 kinda sucked, but apparently Inquisition managed to bring back, the fans.
I think the theme of...
I've actually heard the opposite, actually.
Me too.
Oh god.
So I guess it depends.
Okay.
Or it's divisive.
Let me put it like this. The general consensus of Inquisition is like, whether or not you like it or love it, you realize that at that point the franchise was kind of on a downward trend that it didn't seem like it was returning from. Regardless of whether or not you consider it good or not. So it's kind of, in some ways, sort of a faster course of what Mass Effect would eventually become.
Yeah, actually, story-wise, Dragon Age, if you also don't know, it's pretty much a fantasy Mass Effect, still developed, of course, still by BioWare as well. But in gameplay, it's slightly different because, it implements weapons in a different way, since you also have to use a lot of, CQC combat.
I think part of the selling point was that you could turn into a dragon for at least one of those games.
I actually don't know.
Oh, speak of the devil, Dragon Age Inquisition.
Yeah, that's what I mentioned. That's what we're...
That's...
Erin Flynn. There are too many letters in that name.
Alright, let me look up Dragon Age
Getting some Mr. Caffeine vibes from this guy.
Yeah. Oh wait, wasn't 2014 the Usher performance year with Ubisoft, now that I think about it?
I don't remember.
No, I don't think...
Actually, don't remember.
I think you're thinking of 2012 Microsoft, actually.
I also don't remember if this is the conference where they pull a car on stage for Need for Speed or not.
Oh boy.
I know they did it for 1 year to up on Microsoft.
Okay, pre-release and post-release, the games were positive. The reviews for this game were positive and generally favorable. That's
critical reviews though. Like the fans are mixed on it.
As for sales, okay, it debuted at number 5 in the UK on its first launch week. Yada yada. It sold almost the exact amount of launch week copies as 2011's Dragon Age 2. This did not take into account direct digital download sales, however, which have been known to be a significant percentage of sales.
Alright, let me see actually properly, because Mass Effect has become basically a proper shooter with some specific abilities tied to the RPG customization of your character.
Well, to be fair, Mass Effect was a new IP anyway. It was never tied to any standard of what...
No. I know. Well, keep in mind, even Dragon Age itself, BioWare, the old games that BioWare did were completely different in how they played anyway.
Okay.
And keep in mind, Mass Effect was supposed to be a Microsoft IP initially before EA swooped in.
So, I've looked up for a bit of general consensus of the game. It seems to amount to the game feels really bloated. Overall, fairly uninteresting. A lot of it is spent doing sort of the similar thing over and over and over again. The main villain is fairly generic and uninteresting, and the final fight is anticlimactic too. Enjoyed Dragon Age 2 better. The story was tighter and more focused there.
I'm curious too. Considering how we know how Mass Effect ended by
this is also kind of telling me that BioWare doesn't know how to conclude a trilogy.
So it would seem. Although didn't they end up making another Dragon Age game after Inquisition as well?
No, Inquisition at this time it's the last, but there are rumors they're making a 4th title. Yes, Pedro?
So I'm wondering. Okay, so we all know how Andromeda killed the Mass Effect franchise. Since you brought up how Microsoft was originally involved in the first one, do you prefer the ending Mass Effect got with Andromeda, or what Microsoft would have probably ended up with? They would have probably done this Infinity to Gears, where they would turn it into a games as a service, freemium type game full of horrible microtransactions.
I want to be optimistic and think that the Microsoft route would have been a better outcome, mostly because I get that Microsoft would have overworked BioWare less than what EA did.
And I guess to give Microsoft credit, Mass Effect really doesn't have any business being a games as a service sort of game, seeing as how it's not really one that is centered around multiplayer. It's more a single player exploration RPG sort of experience.
Well, Jova, think of Destiny. Maybe Microsoft could have turned Mass Effect into that instead.
Oh God, I would hope that they wouldn't stoop to Activision's levels.
Also Maleficent.
What you said was true, Jova, but then again, neither was Forza, and Forza Horizon 4, yeah.
Oh,
they found a way.
Yeah.
The Inquisition.
So far we've
Nobody expected that.
So far we've seen two games that fan-wise weren't received the best.
Wait, what was the first one? Oh, right, Battlefront 2.
No, the first Battlefront. And yeah, that's the thing. For as much as Battlefront 2, the DICE Battlefront 2, I hate that I have to specify, but as much as DICE Battlefront 2 did improve...
Oh, we're talking about the beginning of developing Andromeda.
Oh, boy.
Big time.
Okay, remember when we first saw this at E3 of 2015 as a group, and we thought...
Go ahead, through a finish.
Remember when we first saw this at E3 2015 and we thought, hey, a return to form for Mass Effect, one that's more exploration-based, like the first Mass Effect, one that would surely bring back stuff better. Oh, God.
Question, Shiroi, are you familiar with the Mass Effect derp face memes?
Yes.
Well, that's the game they're talking about basically right now, about making it.
Basically, Shiroi, Andromeda was supposed to be a return to form for the franchise after Mass Effect 3. Let's say Mass Effect 3 happened to be nice. Other than that, it's shadow over things.
BioWare managed to apply a band-aid with the free patch of the what I don't know what I called it. They basically quote unquote fixed as much as we could the ending with some steals, but like I said, it was clearly applying a band-aid where it wasn't enough.
It was trying to apply a band-aid to a gun wound, essentially.
Yeah.
Didn't really do much.
I mean, it was a nice effort, but an effort nonetheless.
I think I'm just baffled by why they thought that original ending was a good idea.
Rushed
easily. Remember, Joe, at the time that Mass Effect 3 was being made, Casey Hudson, the director of the first two games, was not at BioWare. He only returned later, so that might have something to do with it.
And now I just got reminded that the ending of Mass Effect 3 is 8 years
now
old.
We got the Sims.
Oh boy, I believe this Sims game had some controversy behind it, if I recall.
Honestly, Jova, every single Sims game has been controversial, in the recent times. I don't know why.
So let's just say, with hindsight, this E3 is looking to be pretty tragic so far.
Oh,
Fetish
gotta get some Kenny Valley territory, right?
Okay, let me rephrase that. Okay, let me rephrase that too. Like you yourself said, yeah, at the very least, Microsoft wouldn't overwork BioWare. But just speaking in terms of the fate of the franchise, like taking away any kind of behind-the-scenes problems.
Well, we know that part of the problem of the new Gears game is because part of the core part of the original team is not there anymore. I assume that not really the same would happen to BioWare. Especially also for the reason that I mentioned, the fact that Microsoft will not overwork the team just like EA did.
Well, I know I've already got that.
But that's why I explained that, Pedro. The fact that just by keeping a consistent team, sure, they can I guess they can produce as many titles as they can, without sacrificing too much.
Oh, true. I get that, but they would still Microsoft will most likely still force them to include microtransactions and stuff.
That too, but as long as you manage to find a way to enjoy the game without succumbing onto that, that's fine. The problem with Gears 4 and 5 is because that you can't enjoy the game despite that too.
His rather eccentric neighbor. I made Chuck recite some of his poetry, but I haven't leveled up his
Oh god. I know that seems allow you to do some weird shit, but
yeah. Okay. The Sims franchise in general, it didn't actually start with The Sims. It started with SimCity.
Yeah, on the Super Nintendo. That's why we have the Professor character in Smash. Yes, technically speaking, one of the 6 trophies is an EA character by proxy.
I know, right?
And it was released in 1989.
And what better way to do that than by throwing a party? So it looks like it's working. The neighborhood's shown up.
Oh!
Feeling playful. He's cracking.
So when does the Green Reaper shows up?
Good question.
Uh-oh. Here's Gladys, and she's still looking for a fight. Her foul mood is affecting
No,
the
Gladys.
unicorn.
I need to inject a dose of fun into this party, and I know just how to do it.
Oh no.
Into the all-new gallery to look for something special. It's full of wonderful Sims created by other players.
And I think this was the part of the gallery included potential new stuff that could help you buy a cost. I think this is how EA introduced the microtransactions in the game. Don't quote me on that though.
The best enjoyment I'm not really into these kinds of games, so the best enjoyment I got out of Sims is watching a certain YouTuber have a big rant about how EA killed his Sims family.
Oh, was that around the time?
To be fair, the players already do that themselves.
Oh, there's the Green Reaper. I forgot about that. It Shakshi shows up.
That's the thing, Shira, trust me, this particular that I'm talking about is such a notorious asshole that it comes across as yeah, this is his family, the family that he actually gives a crap about.
What's it of his real family?
Oh,
it's
Sims 4.
Let's just move on.
Oh,
maybe his
boy.
real family's kind of shit.
Yep, this is the one with that controversy.
It's the other way around, Shira.
Oh, okay.
And that's all I'll say.
Sure.
Yeah, keep telling yourself that, EA.
I mean, as far as I recall, the Sims as a franchise is still going to this day. If I recall correctly, last year, EA did mention an update for the seasonal update for Sims 4, I think it was. I think it's still this one.
Let's just say the franchise has been to hell and back, though.
Yeah.
And this game is part of that reason.
Alright, next one.
So that is, I believe, 4 games in a row, all of which
I think right now we're getting... Oh, right, yeah, Bruce Lee. We're getting a fighting game, UFC. And the selling point was that you could actually play as Bruce Lee.
It becomes the bottle. You put it in the teapot, it becomes the teapot. Now water can flow, or it can crash. Be water, my friend.
Oh.
I think the series is dead now.
I actually don't know if it was a series or not.
No, they're still making more.
Why haven't I heard of this? Well, I heard of it back in the day, but not really these days now.
Let me check just to be sure.
Well, we got EA's conference coming up soon.
Maybe we're announcing something new there.
It's like, I don't think I've ever seen this announced at any of the EA E3s that we've commentated on.
I guess it wasn't just that marketable, I don't know. Itself is actually pretty fun.
Ordinarily, I would agree with pretty much anything John Jones has to say about fighting. After all, he is the UFC light heavyweight champion, and I am a fighter that shouldn't be in his weight class. But he did get one thing wrong.
Wow.
This year, in EA Sports UFC, anyone can be like Bruce Lee. Virtually speaking, of course.
Okay, but did you have to interrupt the trailer for that?
Apparently he had to.
It's supposed to be funny and witty, I guess, too.
I guess. Anyway, Joe, I checked. The series started being developed in 2014. And the last game released was in 2018 with the EA Sports UFC 3. So it's still going. We're probably gonna see a new title soon enough.
No new title in 2019, though. That's weird.
Well, no, they're not labeled by year, but by name. UFC, UFC 2, and UFC 3.
Huh, so something that EA don't run into the ground year by year?
Well, I mean, UFC isn't really UFC's not like EA's other stuff. They have events periodically, not like every week.
It's developed by the Canadian division of EA. I think it's the Vancouver team.
Well, EA Canada make FIFA.
Oh, okay.
Is a two-division UFC champion. He's not afraid to go toe-to-toe with anybody. But here we have Bruce Lee's fists and feet of fury starting to take a
Well, this is an amazing time paradox where Bruce Lee somehow survived this long.
Keep in mind, Jova, I'll take that over all the Bruceploitation movies that they did after his death. Those were actually very tasteless.
Oh God.
Like, I'm fine with Game of Death because that actually used all the footage they had, and we had to, patch up whatever story they wanted to cobble up. But all the movies after that done that, capitalize on Bruce Lee, were, yeah.
Have you seen Once Upon a Time in Hollywood?
Oh, I haven't. I'm talking about the proper Chinese one, like Exit the Dragon, Enter the Tiger, for example.
For this past year,
okay.
Everyone's been asking me the same question. What will change in the NHL franchise when it...
Why is there an inspirational piano playing in the background?
I was wondering where that was coming from.
EA is gonna tell you to open your hard drawer.
One that comes alive.
By punching yourself.
It's for your hockey game? Seriously, EA?
We'll actually too,
Yeah, they have the rights to that.
Well, actually, too, there's a keyboard in that song, but there's no piano in it, I think.
No.
That's even worse somehow.
Bringing a new level of toughness.
You show this while a bunch of hockey players tackle themselves.
Are humping each other, yeah.
Is this like America or something?
No, definitely Canada. Sure. Canada is the one that loves hockey to death. Get your stereotypes right.
National Hockey League 15.
Canada's the one with the maple bacon.
Maple bacon? That sounds gross.
This music.
So majestic.
So serene.
They had a violin at the beginning, by the way.
Get it for Dragon Age Inquisition.
Seriously, did we confuse the games? This is supposed to be for another one and not for the hockey game. Like we saw yesterday with Konami that you could have technical difficulties. Maybe they fucked up for one of the traders.
Oh my God! Now you got me imagining Glee showing up for something.
Jova, Castle Glee is gone. They cannot harm you anymore. Come on.
You gotta admit that was quite an ambush of all places.
Well, actually,
I'm talking about these conferences, Pedro.
Okay. Well, I was gonna make a joke though. Like technically, they can still harm him at this point because the show had 6 seasons, and so this time it was still going on with its
seriously?
fifth season.
Damn it.
Glee is just one of those baffling shows. Like almost everyone you speak to hates it, but somehow it was popular enough.
Oh God! It's so even the way he enters is ominous.
Oh, he apparently changed outfits.
They just need smoke now.
Actually, this time
never mind.
Guy.
It's a different guy.
Patrick Sutherland.
Maybe this is.
Although to be fair, the devil can take different forms.
Why people at EA working at EA look so sinister?
Yeah, right.
They're like stereotypical corporate, like asshole.
And the British accents do not help.
Remember, Dwebs, the devil takes many forms, like a snake. So
again, not only do they look evil, but they have British accents. Like,
that never helps any.
Well, that's just standard, Jova. Like that's the easiest way to make a character clearly evil.
I think my favorite take on that was the evil Brits car commercial starring Tom
the one we
Hiddleston.
saw last year.
Yeah.
I mean, you want a proper, textbook definition that it's not, self-aware. The Old Boy 2013 movie where Sharlto Copley is the villain.
Look at this totally not out-of-place Brit in a cast entirely of Americans.
Well, apparently Andrew Wilson himself is British, going off of his accent.
I think this one is a montage of EA Sports titles.
What the hell EA Sport has to do with helicopters?
Or actually, no, maybe it's not actually, maybe it's just... yeah, Burnout Paradise, that is something else, my bad.
This is a new era for Criterion. We've reinvented our office.
Oh, we're talking about the studio Criterion. Let me check what they did from this point onward.
Oh boy, a budding new studio at EA. Might as well count off the years before they die.
Enjoy your future, it's gonna be great.
Keep in mind, Criterion is a studio that was owned by EA a lot, but for a lot of time, I think.
EA will find a way.
It was established in 1996 anyway, and they were part of EA since 2004.
So are they dead
anyway,
yet?
Since 2014, the year of this conference, they did a VR mission for the first Star Wars Battlefront in 2016 for the PS4 version. They helped with Star Wars Battlefront 2, they helped with Battlefield 5, and they did Need for Speed Heat.
Oh, so they're still alive, surprisingly.
Yeah, they are.
Wow. That's actually kind of amazing, considering EA's track record. Like, even some of the studios that have been with them the longest eventually just get killed and run into the ground.
I think it's the last of the old guards that still holds up among the teams that EA's acquired over the years.
So only a matter of time, then.
A matter of time.
I love how the Wikipedia template has an entire big section dedicated to all the studio casualties that EA killed.
I know, right?
Like Bullfrog, Pandemic, Westwood, Playfish, Visual, the list goes on.
Oh god, Viscerals was especially sad. Especially seeing as how that's where the Amy Hennig ordeal kind of came by.
Alright, now I think we're talking about sports.
Well, this is something I expect from an EA presentation anyway, a lot of sports.
Yeah. But Shiroi, would you expect them to stop the conference just to have an interview with a sports star? Because
PGA Tour.
Yeah, actually.
Basically, Shiroi, fun fact. The first time we ever commented on an EA conference, they literally halted the conference to have an interview with Pele.
Yeah.
Even Pedro and Dwibs were annoyed by that.
It's like, I know I joke about it, but EA is something to say, okay,
I think the game we're about to show is Rory McIlroy PGA Tour.
Oh, wow.
That's the first one to not be named after Tiger Woods.
Wow.
And it's the last game tied to the PGA Tour series that has been released.
Oh, yeah, that's right. This is back when
at least so far.
This is back when EA were pretty creative, not gonna lie, though. Like, you could have some pretty whacked out courses. Golf without limits.
Speaking of which Nintendo, where's the next Mario Golf?
Wasn't that on 3DS at the time?
True, but
I don't remember.
Okay, as of now, the PGA Tour IP belongs to 2K.
Oh, it is? Let me check.
Yeah.
You know, again, what's kind of a shame is like, well, these games show that EA could have done creative stuff with their sports games, but just chose not to. Like, again, look at how fantastical that stuff is, and then you come to stuff like Madden, which doesn't have something spectacular like that.
Like we've mentioned, Jova, I think Madden also started having a story mode after the success of the Journey, so we'll have to see how that is.
Now this is American.
Fighting.
And by that you mean awkwardly hugging each other.
Yeah.
In a way that it's definitely not homoerotic.
It's funny because American football's kind of been catching on over in Britain. Granted, we've
had baseball games over here too from American teams.
Yeah, like we had the Boston Red Sox and New York Yankees of a 2-game series in
Whoop.
Translation, it's kind of more the same, but
it's easier to control, but it's more of the same.
I showed you, Jova, the British commentary for those games.
Uh-huh.
I'm actually curious, what do they call it over there?
Call what, sorry?
American football.
American football.
But here in Britain, American football. Because we have our own.
Well, okay, so
so we call it by its name, yeah.
Oh, okay, fine. I was wondering if they came up with some kind of word for it. Not me. My country stays with only the real football.
I actually wonder. That actually is a good point. Why doesn't America call the what we call soccer English football?
If there were any, if there was any justice, I'd have it so it'd be called "Totally Not Rugby, We Swear."
Still salty about that, I see.
Ladies, you can settle your squabble after the commentary. Keep moving.
Nice stuff.
Next.
It's gonna be a fight.
Oh, it's a proper trailer for Madden 15.
Let me tell you a story about the other side of the ball.
EA, it is nice that you definitely want to hype us up, but considering how this was before you started adding story campaigns, it was the whole, just show us that the game works, and that was pretty much enough for the sports games.
Defenses aren't just a net. They become more than that, way more than that.
Although I'm not sure how EA are going to handle FIFA this year, due to the coronavirus hitting football back and
Remember all the contracts and all.
Yeah, that is a good point. Maybe they'll skip releasing a FIFA game this year.
Well, that's perish the thought, Jova. You have no idea how much the football/soccer industry, how many money they pump into it for merchandise alone.
So what would they do then? Create their own characters?
I haven't seen United Passion, but I can get the idea of FIFA be pretty evil because keep in mind, get this, Jova, just letting you know. My country, being one of the first to be hit by the plague, had to actually shut down all the events, that were supposed to happen.
Same.
It took I think 3 weeks before FIFA started throwing an easy fit and demand for compensation for the lack of events.
Dang.
And I mean compensation from the state.
Wow.
Obviously, for once the government decided to do something smart and actually laugh in their faces.
Good on them for that. Jesus, FIFA.
Esport time, I think. Alright, let me see if this game is dead or not. Alright, I think this was EA trying to get into the MOBA territory.
I guess it's not as bad as when EA were trying to get into the eSports network.
Downgrade was, so yeah, they probably shut it down. I proposed, it was cancelled. Okay.
Oh!
I proposed MOBA, developed by Waystone Games and published by EA for Microsoft Windows or PC. It was meant to be a free-to-play game, likely to be supported by microtransactions. News about the game began to leak during early mid-April 2013. Testing began on May 24, 2013. The beta was released on April 9, 2014. 10 other 2 betas the same year. It was announced that because the beta was not shaping up as they hoped, all development would stop and the game would be fully shut down in 90 days.
Damn.
In 2015, it became a registered trademark of EA, meaning that it's basically in their clutches. In June of 2020, the developers reached out to EA in the midst to acquire the rights of the game and bring it back to the people, and a Kickstarter is to be set up as a means of gather parts of funds required to obtain... Let me get this straight. The game was not shipped. The feedback of the beta scared the shit out of EA, who pulled the plug on the project, kept the copyright of the IP for like 6 years, or 6 years, and now the developers are so desperate that they want to put a Kickstarter to purchase back the right from EA. Where EA is so petty that they want so much money that the developers need a Kickstarter for it.
Wow.
What a sad tale.
So, yeah, like I said, almost everything shown in this EA conference is tragic, as is befitting of EA. Jesus. The thing that came out the best was, of course, the sports games. And hell no. Even with PGA, EA no longer own those rights.
Yeah, 2K owns them. Whether or not that's better or worse will be up to the viewer.
So they've actually started making games after 2015, Dweebs?
What, PGA ones?
Yeah, from the 2K brand.
I don't know. I don't really play golf games, except everybody.
Let me check again, just to be sure.
Mainly because everybody's golf's more simple.
No, I understand.
Still maintain
or
that
the Americans called it until recently hot shots golf.
Best way to play golf games. The best way to play golf games, if you ask me, was with the Tiger Woods Wii golf game.
Oh, nice. I think we're talking about the Mirror's Edge reboot.
Oh,
Mirror's Edge Catalyst.
Boy, didn't people
I
hate
played the
this?
original because he at some point actually gave it away for free, so I took advantage of that. But this reboot, I haven't played it nor I heard much about it. From what I heard, it's a reboot, but boy, it's much of the same.
Was this
and DICE being stuck in developing Star Wars games and Battlefield titles, yeah, this is not getting a sequel anytime soon.
Let me check. If I recall
It's a shame, because I kind of like the design and personality of Faith.
Let's see, Mirror's Edge.
Even as a concept, Mirror's Edge is actually kind of interesting. It's a platformer in first person that devolves entirely on parkour, and you get the feeling of someone, jumping around buildings all over the place, with an interesting setting of a dystopic future. It's a shame that it's wasted.
Anyway, according to Wikipedia, PGA Tour 2K started around 2014 under the name The Golf Club. In August 2018, they announced that 2K Sports were taking over the PGA Tour IP altogether after EA lost the rights.
Let's see, Mirror's Edge.
And now we're expected to release a game next year called PGA Tour 2K21. That's nice.
I said, whether or not it'll turn out better or worse, then
we'll have to see.
Because believe it or not, EA has a better track record of quality sports games than most other places.
Yeah.
Anyway,
also, can you put more color into these studio shots?
Regarding Mirror's Edge Catalyst, from what I can gather, the main thing was people really did like the looks of it. What was mixed were the reactions to the controls, go figure.
Oh, I actually don't know about that.
Let's see, the game got a 74 for PC on Metacritic, a 72 for Xbox One, and a 69 for PS4.
Nice. Seriously, put colors in that shot. I don't mean the concept art. These little shots are focusing on the studio. They're clearly desaturated.
This game was originally revealed in 2000. Oh.
That quote, this is a girl who tattooed her eye. You do that for a reason. No shit.
God damn.
To make a point, he said that right after that. Okay, what's the point exactly to it, since you played the first game?
The franchise involves this dystopic future where, well, it's out of everything but predicted, where it's similar to Marvel 2099. A big conglomerate controls every one of your moves. Well, more similar to 1984 in the kind of sense. So information is delivered by these people, the jumpers, I think they're called, who perform parkour between these tall buildings to deliver messages between people without being noticed by the spies of the corporation.
Evil Corporation EA by any chance?
No, I forgot what it's called. It's been actually a while since I played. I still have the game in my library, being pre and all. Maybe I'll record it at some point. Who knows?
Sorry, Dwez, but unlike Yosuke Matsuda, Andrew Wilson would never allow for something like that in a EA game.
Brings an all-new level of player personality and responsiveness to the game. New stutters and strides let you cut, sprint, and explode out.
We're talking about FIFA now, I think.
So you are not missing a damn thing.
I'm up 40 minutes.
Honestly, this conference is just generic EA, to be honest.
Okay,
yeah,
so
exactly what I expected.
See, here's the thing about EA. When they're not being an absolute train wreck at E3, they're often more not just there. Like, they will occasionally show sometimes a remarkable thing, though more often than not that will end in disaster. But with EA, you kind of know what you're getting.
You'll see it too. FIFA 15 will have atmosphere that you can feel.
I mean, the only really interesting things they've shown in recent years was A Way Out and
Fallen Order.
Fallen Order, yeah.
We're supposedly getting a new game. We're actually supposed to get a new game from Hindsight, like a teaser of it.
But yeah, sure is a point. And for the record, A Way Out was an indie project that just happened to have some backing from EA.
It's ironic. The game that actually, is the better one of the bunch is the one where EA actually has the less control possible on it.
To the point where the guy got away
really
with...
makes you think, doesn't it?
Let me put it this: it was made by...
Screamed in Andrew Wilson, and Andrew Wilson decided to just oblige him so he would shut up.
Yeah.
Maybe that's the deal. Andrew Wilson tried to strike a deal, but it turns out that Joseph Ferris doesn't have a soul.
Like, seriously. I don't know what the deal was, but Joseph Ferris came out on top because he was allowed to pretty much throw some criticism at EA at the good old Game Awards where he said, and I quote, F the Oscars.
Well, remember, Joe.
Okay. I'm sorry, I have to say, this commercial is blatantly lying because the behavior of people at stadiums is much more colored than what you're seeing right now.
I know, right? Like, seriously, this is like something you see in a sports drama film.
Well, okay, if I'm going to give some credit, I'm by no means saying we're perfect.
Okay,
but,
I say if you can vary from country to country, I will admit that. Because at least for mine, people are constantly beating the shit out of each other and being uncivilized.
And swearing up the
store. In my country as well, don't get me wrong, but they're rare.
And that's not even getting to the racist accusation towards players, because...
They happen a lot here.
Because fans are just that charming.
Well, it's at times like this where I, as an American, have to wonder, do Europeans really take soccer that seriously?
Sorry, go on, Jova.
No.
Oh, and I'm not talking about the potential misunderstood jokes like that. I'm talking about people willingly telling racist slurs to the players.
Like actual hate crimes kind of thing.
And all over a soccer game, Jesus.
Maybe we should, maybe you guys should do what we did, Joe. You should make racism anti-constitutional.
Well, okay, here's the thing. More often than not, it does not escalate to that point for us in soccer games. Like,
did EA ban them? Because EA, you can say a lot of things about them, but they are at least very good at catching the more unsavory.
I honestly don't know, dude. Considering these things continue repeating, I'm saying no. Anyway, let's keep to something that's equally controversial, Jova. The next Battlefield game, which is a cops versus robbers scenario.
Oh boy.
This hasn't aged well at all.
Well, Tio, surely it would be better with Battlefield 5.
Oh,
boy. Jesus Christ.
Okay, this clearly was unintentional.
Whoa. Okay, yeah, this is terrible.
Moving on. I mean, it's kind of funny because this was the game where EA's team responsible, DICE and Visceral, actually wanted to pump the more a story mode. And it's this one. I know that it's hindsight, that it's a bitch and everything, but God.
Now, for those of you wondering, Battlefield was considered, back in the day, a remarkable third-person shooting sort of game, you know, before, you know, there was Medal of Honor. What's that? You don't remember Medal of Honor? Killed by EA.
Well, they're supposedly reviving it, but for now it's a VR game, so maybe, who knows, I don't know.
That's funny. Okay, sure, yeah. They're gonna try and revive it, but considering how a lot of quote-unquote revivals with EA have gone, you will see me not holding my breath.
Yeah.
I think the best way to describe this EA conference so far is like, well, if you're watching it live, it's, there, watching it in hindsight, it's just tragic.
At least for watching it live back then, I guess it was a bit better, because compared to the previous years, and certainly after the years after...
Are the games so similar?
Sorry, Libson?
Dibs?
Bibs?
The games were so similar that EA drones killed Dibs.
So it would seem.
Oh no, they heard us.
But yeah, you do raise a good point. It's like, well, it's sort of like with EA 2015. When we saw that live...
A great TV crime drama, huh?
Can we please move on?
Yeah, let's not.
Oh, don't worry, Shiri. Apparently we're having even a gameplay demonstration. We're in this for the next 6 minutes, approximately.
Well...
Keep going, Trevor, please.
Yeah, that's the thing about EA Live. I almost forgot. They always have at least one game showing that they drag out needlessly. Go figure.
Yeah, it's kind of similar to what we saw in for Activision, you know, a couple of days ago.
Now, okay.
That some of the games were fine, but we just dragged too long with the presentation.
Okay, now, if you want an EA conference that is absolutely... What?
It's like watching, again, the feelings they described was like watching a cop, buddy cop.
Yeah. Now, folks, if you want to see a truly reviled EA conference that is just terrible, check out EA Play 2018.
Sorry, it crashed. Can I have a time, please?
Go ahead to 47 minutes.
Okay, just give me it. 4707.
Okay, we're actually showcasing the multiplayer, so at least we're not showcasing the story mode still.
But yeah, like I was saying, the EA conference of 2018 was the textbook example of how bad an EA conference can get.
Although the funny thing from that though is, you know how the Command & Conquer announcement that year pleased nobody.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And yet the most recent thing that released on that series was a well-received remaster of the first two games.
It was actually made as a result of a feedback. EA basically applied damage control where they could. But hold on, we're almost there, and go. Keep in mind, Liz, I still appreciate, especially considering from the videos where they saw, the developers actually did a damn good job in remastering these old titles.
It helps that some of the developers did work originally on the games.
It's ironically probably one of the best remasters ever done, but it's not made by Bluepoint. Not even joking.
Yeah. And from what I've seen, from what I've seen, they did a pretty good job rejigging the FMVs, considering that even when they went back to the original sources, those were unusable, so they had to just do their best and upscale the FMVs they had from the PlayStation version. I think it was that anyway. But yeah, they did a pretty good job. I mean, hell, there was even this little trailer that they released a few days, about the day before the game came out, where one of the actors from the original game actually did like a little couple of minute thing in character. Where he was talking about the game and the return of Nod, the bad guys, and I gotta say, in 25 years, he hasn't aged all that much.
Cool.
So essentially, the moral of the story is yell loud and clear, and the big bad companies will eventually have to listen to you.
Yes, but just make sure you do it in a way that isn't...
Do it in a way that's unified but respectable, not just angry Twitter speech.
Yeah, angry Twitter speech. Yeah, there you go. If you do it nicely, you'll get what you want in the end. If you do it meanly, you'll sometimes still get what you want, because apparently that's the lesson we should be learning.
But yeah, that's the thing, though. Back to this conference that we're looking at here. It's... Okay, like I said, having watched this with hindsight now, this conference is a lot more tragic. But maybe looking back at it, it would have given some people hopes. Like, you know, hey, Mass Effect Andromeda led people to believe that Mass Effect would get back up on the horse. Dragon Age Inquisition led a lot of people to believe that the Dragon Age trilogy would become better.
I should let you know that, harsher in hindsight was not the reason or any reason at all that I picked this. I just picked it for the ending.
Oh, well,
I
trust me.
understand.
When it comes to EA, harsher in hindsight is pretty much the norm with their conferences.
Not only that, considering Jova's right and how mundane EA conferences tend to be, you know, there's probably very few really terrible ones to pick from.
Like I said, I mean, the trademark of awfulness with EA is the 2018 one. Like, that was just the pinnacle of being tone deaf and borderline
We already
insulting.
covered that, though.
Yeah.
We already covered it anyway, so...
Exactly. Again, reminder, though, we almost covered this E3 back when we were originally... You know, well, with our original group here. So, in a way, this is sort of the EA conference that would have been, albeit, you know, with hindsight included.
You have the loot.
Pew.
God, weren't EA the same people who tried to do that terrible marketing campaign? The one with the religious one, where they tried to have those fake religious protesters.
That's actually for Far Cry 5 instead, Drove.
No. The Dante's Inferno game.
Oh, that's right. We did have a weird campaign like that with fake religious protesters.
Yeah,
I remember that. It's a shame because get it from me, and actually Italian knows the source material. Believe it or not, Dante's Inferno is actually a good time. And very respectful.
Yeah, the problem was the marketing behind that game. Go figure.
Not just that, even the actual release was made. Well, a combination of things was that Visceral was not allowed to continue the project until just a couple of months before their closure. They publicly stated that they had no plans for a sequel. So it's yet another victim of EA.
Damn.
Well,
snap.
Dead.
Okay, yeah, he should be not pull his parachute in time.
After falling out of a helicopter. But yeah, okay. You want to talk about stuff that people weren't too fond of upon first saying this. This kind of went against the idea of Battlefield at the time.
Yeah, Battlefield was all about actual proper war. And now they were turning it into a cops versus robbers scenario. That's really downscaling.
Nobody really liked that.
We're about to do something we've never done before.
Oh.
We're gonna launch a beta of Battlefield Hardline today.
Yay! The game that nobody likes.
For the record, the beta they released for the previous game, Battlefield 4, sucked. It caused immense crashing, and sometimes it fucked up the computers of the people who owned it.
Wow.
You know, I thought he was going to say, we're going to release the beta yesterday. I mean, that'd be cool. Oh, PlayStation.
Hey, it's that guy from Sony.
Adam, what are you doing here?
I'm here to help and
Grow some more
advertise
against Microsoft.
Pretty
That's
much.
what I do these days anyway.
He was,
from Sony too.
I know that's what he did in the Sony conference of 2013.
Okay, so now we're promoting the PS4 on the EA.
Sony literally hijacked the EA conference.
I remember him most from. I remember him most from the little video that he did with Shuei Yoshida, where they basically mocked Microsoft's then asinine policy of having to make your used games.
And just like that, there it goes, like an angel's kiss.
Basically, yeah. In the wake of 2013, Sony were still doing the whole blasting Microsoft whenever they could thing into 2014. I believe it started subsiding in 2015.
Yeah, because I'll be honest, sometimes, well, in fact, most of the time, concentrating on bad-mouthing your competition as opposed to promoting your own stuff.
Okay, I'm sorry, Reeves. Why are they hosting the tournament up on our roof in the middle of the day? These people are gonna get dehydrated so quickly.
Because it looks cool.
They might have drinks there.
Okay, what is this?
So let's start E3 off right. For everyone at home, on the rooftop, and right here at the shrine.
What do you mean starting off right? The conference is over.
What are you doing? What are you doing? Get me out of here! What the hell? Oh.
Yes. Welcome, everyone. Now you're all gonna die right here.
No, Mr. Audience, I expect you to die.
So they just gassed the audience in the end.
Well, that was weird. Okay.
And by weird, terrible.
We would like to dedicate this playthrough to all those that were in that theatre that day. They probably weren't expecting that at the end.
Yeah, that was pretty terrible.
Well, that came out of nowhere.
Well, I mean, if they weren't gassed to death, the event would have bored them to tears.
Probably.
Maybe that was what in the gas was, tear gas. I mean, considering the game we were talking about.
Okay.
Or laughing gas just to get some kind of a reaction out of the audience.
I wish I had some, because this was fucked up.
Yeah.
No, laugh. Alright, I'll just start just to say quickly the thoughts. And this is technically better than something like Activision 2008, 2007, just because of presentation alone and because they were actual games. But most of them, because of hindsight, either were boring, went nowhere, or are super awkward to just talk about them. So yeah, this is just bad. And Mr. Satan in a nice suit didn't help things at the beginning, nor did gassing the audience at the end. It's like the polar opposite, beginning and end. And the middle is just the sports section, which I wasn't really caring at that point. I think it's from the year after this that they started introducing the journey. Actually, no. Journey Season 1 was 2017, Journey Season 2 2018, and Journey Season 3 in 2019, so 2 years after this one, they started introducing them.
What did you think about them ending with the absolute best thing, Battlefield Hardline?
Yeah, Trova, just even if you were not here, out of respect, I'm not gonna say anything, aside from the fact that, keep in mind, audience, DICE did this game way before all the nice things that are happening right now are happening. So it's just an inside thing. We were not like reptilian Illuminati conspiracy trying to, sending propaganda messages or something like that. So try to I don't blame you at all if you don't want to have anything to do with the game, because you have any right to do, and it's the same thing I am doing right now. But keep also that in mind, what I just said. But aside from anything, yeah, this was just boring at best. Probably the most interesting thing to me was Dragon Age Inquisition. Even then, I have no real experience with the franchise anyway. Next.
It's like, after, I'll be honest, seeing an E3 like this, presented in the way that it was actually kind of a relief after seeing 2 conferences in a row where they were just in like their basements or something. Even though they're supposed to be, overflowing with money, and yet the best they could get was a bloody basement. But presentation-wise, I thought it was fine. The main thing though is the harsher in hindsight for like 80% of these games. The other 20 were either just blips on the radar, or in one case didn't come out at all.
Oh yeah,
not properly anyway.
And it's apparently getting kickstarted now because it's being held hostage by EA.
EA.
Another thing being held hostage by EA.
I'm not sure. I can't remember EA ever giving up an IP. I mean, hell, when Square, at least Square Enix, when they realized they had no use for the Hitman IP, they just gave it back to IO and let them do whatever they wanted. EA, I'm not entirely sure if they've done anything like that.
Well, yeah.
But yeah, I mean that's the thing. This conference mainly seems to be remembered more for a lot of the stuff that was promised, but what we ended up getting wasn't exactly stellar. Although, funny enough, in the case of Mass Effect Andromeda, that wasn't the worst thing that would come from BioWare.
It was pretty damn terrible, but...
Oh, boy.
It wasn't the worst, so at least Mass Effect Andromeda could say that, yeah, we were bad, but we were better than Anthem.
Take with what you get.
You get a cookie.
Yeah, you get an efforts cookie. And by that...
It's very stale.
Yes.
Yeah. Is there a word for stale beginning with E?
E-stale.
Yeah, E-stale. Yeah, you get an E-stale cookie. But yeah,
capitalize the A in stale.
And that gasp bit at the end, like, what the hell? None of the other, nothing else in this conference had any sort of pyrotechnics or anything like that. So what was with that at the end?
Nor did it really justify the grandiosity of it. Like, oh, we're ending with a bang. Let's celebrate with fireworks.
Maybe they accidentally held this conference in a concert hall.
I mean, the only thing I could think of was that they were trying to gas their audience with gas or something. That's the best I could think. So, yeah, that's about it. The conference is only really remembered for how badly most of their stuff turned out in the end.
That's EA for you.
Well, I mean, we've already talked about hindsight being a bitch, but aside from that, this was the most mundane of the conferences we've seen so far, because it's exactly what I expected from EA. I mean, aside from the end, everything is just by the numbers, and it's very, very boring. Boring / awkward.
Yep.
That's EA, I guess. Who's next?
Pedro.
It's a conference.
Are you sure about that?
Not really.
You got gassed.
Maybe it was a drug hallucination from that gas.
There was gas, and that's basically what I got from this conference. That's basically it. Because most of those games don't interest me in any way, shape, or form, except for maybe Dragon Age Inquisition. Maybe one day I'll try those games out at some point. But that's outside of that, I don't care about any of this. Jova closes out.
I should end it right there, but it's an EA conference. And yes, in case you're wondering, there was pretty much a vacuous spout of nothingness I had to say on it, because what can I say really about EA? Well, sure, a lot, but about this particular EA conference, it's pretty much what you come to expect. Stuff is either mundane, the exciting stuff more often than not turns out to end up rather tragically. I guess the best thing was the PGA thing, seeing as how that one actually did turn out to be nice and actually creative. What a shock for an EA title, but now EA don't even own that one anymore, go figure. So, yeah, sadly, the biggest thing of note is Battlefield Hardlines for how much people hated that, because the whole Cops and Robbers thing had no business being in a Battlefield game, let alone being the subject of a Battlefield game. But guys, a beta will be available after the totally terrible beta of Battlefield 4, and thus it ends with them gassing the audience. It's almost like they knew, okay, this has been terrible, throw out the smoke pellets so we can make our dashing escape, before they criticize us for this. And
I
then
mean,
they
I
ran
did
away.
say you smoke in this, considering the demeanor of our presenters.
I guess if I can give this conference one thing, it was a nice way to calm down after the utter bafflement that was Konami's E3 of 2010 from yesterday. Seriously, I'm still kind of reeling from what I saw then. But As all good things are, every good thing must come to an end. We've had quite a look at E3 conferences. We've seen EA, we saw Microsoft trying to pass off a peripheral, and sadly that E3 did succeed, but oh boy is hindsight a biatch, like Shiroi said, seeing as how the next conference of theirs would be less successful in selling the Kinect with how terrible it was. We saw Konami absolutely being not a clown, but the entire circus. We saw Nintendo giving off the stats here, and while their conference was relatively professional here, if you were a main gamer, you probably would be disappointed. We saw Ubisoft with Mr. Caffeine. That is all. Then there was Activision. Holy fudge, Activision's was annoying as all hell. But what if I told you that we could get to the mother of all bad E3 conferences? What if there was an E3 conference that incorporated almost everything wrong you could do with an E3 conference, minus they actually had an actual theater and it was shot relatively competently?
You would say, Jova, that if we actually calculate the net worth of this conference, this one will be worth, you say, $5.99 US?
Why, yes, Tio. Yes, indeed. Audience, tune in tomorrow for the grand finale, Sony E3 of 2006, and get ready for some massive damage!
See ya. Remember
See
that
ya.
one? See ya.
See ya.